She still sleeps next to you, but something's missing. The laugh, the look, the rhythm you used to know by heart. Your gut whispers, warnings your mind tries to silence. You feel crazy for noticing the small things, the way she holds her phone now, the pause before she answers simple questions, the sudden need for privacy where none existed before. You catch yourself studying her face when she thinks you're not looking, searching for the woman you fell in love with. But she's there and not there, present in body, absent in spirit. Today you'll learn 8 invisible signs every cheating woman leaves behind. Before she's caught, before she confesses, before she even admits it to herself. These patterns exist in the shadows of daily life, hidden in plain sight. They whisper truths that words never speak. If you've ever felt truth humming beneath the silence, if you've ever known something was wrong without knowing what, stay. Because what you're about to discover will change how you see everything. This isn't about revenge or paranoia. It's about pattern recognition, emotional forensics for men who want clarity, not drama. You're about to see the invisible architecture of deception, the blueprint every cheating woman follows without even realizing it. Before we begin, do me a favor. Hit like and hype buttons, subscribe to this channel, and drop a comment about what city you're watching from. Let's dive in. The first sign hits you in the chest before your brain even processes it. She's physically present, but emotionally vanished. The energy that once flowed between you like electricity, gone. Not angry, not sad, just absent. Like she's conserving something precious for someone else. This isn't the temporary distance that comes with stress or work pressure. This is systematic emotional withdrawal, a conscious or unconscious redirection of her inner life away from you and toward something she can't name. You'll notice it in the small moments first. She used to ask about your day with genuine curiosity, leaning forward when you spoke, asking follow-up questions that showed she was really listening. Now she listens with the polite attention of a stranger at a bus stop. Her eyes look past you when you speak, focusing on something invisible over your shoulder. The spontaneous touches disappear completely. She stops reaching for your hand during movies, stops brushing against you in the kitchen, stops curling into you on the couch without thinking about it. Instead, she sits on the opposite end without conscious decision, her body naturally creating distance her mind hasn't fully acknowledged yet. When you make her laugh, there's a delay. Like she has to remember she's supposed to find you funny. Like she's translating your humor through some internal filter that's slowly shutting down. This isn't depression or stress from work. This is detachment. A woman preparing to leave doesn't invest emotion in staying. Her heart starts withdrawing before her body follows. The conversations become functional, surface level, safe. Weather, schedules, household logistics. She stops sharing the random thoughts that used to spill out during dinner or long drives. The weird thing she saw at the store, the conversation she overheard, the memory that popped up unexpectedly. All those small intimacies that build emotional connection, gone. The silence between you grows thick and somehow defensive, like she's protecting herself from accidentally revealing too much. You'll catch yourself working harder to get her attention, saying funnier things, being more helpful around the house, planning more elaborate date nights, all while she drifts further away. You become a performer in your own relationship, trying to earn back attention that used to be freely given. But when that silence grows defensive, the story changes completely. Simple questions become landmines overnight. Ask where she's going, and suddenly you're controlling. Wonder about her day, and you're invasive. Ask who she's texting, and you're insecure. The woman who used to share every detail of her daily life now treats basic curiosity like an aggressive interrogation. This dramatic shift happens because guilt creates hypersensitivity to scrutiny. Every innocent question feels like an accusation to someone hiding something significant. Her nervous system is already on high alert, managing the stress of deception, so normal relationship communication triggers fight or flight responses. She'll snap at you for asking things that never bothered her before. "Why do you always need to know everything?" becomes her standard response to questions you've been asking for years. "Can't I have any privacy?" she'll demand when you wonder why she's working late again. The irony is brutal. She's asking for privacy to protect behavior that violates the privacy of your relationship. Watch how she flips every conversation, making you the problem instead of addressing the simple question. Suddenly, you're possessive for wanting to know her plans for Saturday. You're insecure for noticing her mood shift. You're untrusting for asking about the new friend she mentions constantly but never describes. The defensiveness comes from psychological projection. She knows she's being deceptive, so she assumes your questions come from suspicion rather than normal curiosity. This creates a feedback loop where your natural desire for connection gets reframed as unhealthy monitoring. She'll give you lectures about trust and independence that feel completely disconnected from the simple questions that started the conversation. "If you really trusted me, you wouldn't need to ask where I'm going." But trust isn't about not asking questions. It's about getting honest answers when you do. Watch how she responds to neutral questions about time, location, or people. An honest woman answers simply and moves on. A guilty one builds walls around simple facts, treating routine curiosity like an invasion of privacy. She'll give you way more information than you asked for, then get angry that you're making her explain herself. The overreaction reveals the secret. When someone has nothing to hide, there's nothing to defend. Next comes secrecy you can literally touch. Her phone transforms from a communication device into a vault. The woman who used to leave it carelessly on the counter, battery dying, screen cracked from drops, now clutches it like expensive jewelry. She takes it to the bathroom, keeps it face down during dinner, develops sudden password changes, she explains, with vague concerns about security. But security from what? From whom? The behavioral shift is dramatic and immediate. Notice the new habits that develop seemingly overnight. She steps outside to take calls that used to happen right in front of you. "Work stuff," she'll say. But since when did work require outdoor privacy? Messages arrive and she doesn't check them immediately, something that used to be impossible for her. But her eyes flick toward the screen constantly. The phone stays conveniently silent during your conversations, then buzzes constantly when she thinks you're not paying attention. She'll create entirely new rules around digital privacy that feel excessive for someone with nothing to hide. Suddenly, you're violating boundaries for glancing at a screen that used to be shared space. The woman who used to show you funny videos and read you interesting texts now angles the screen away from you like it contains state secrets. Pay attention to how she physically holds it now. Against her chest when walking past you. Screen down on surfaces where it used to lay face up. She'll flip it over mid-conversation when it lights up. Like the notification itself is dangerous. Watch the bathroom patterns. She never used to take her phone in there. Now it's attached to her like a medical device. Long showers become phone sessions. Quick bathroom breaks stretch into extended communications. The device that once connected her to the world now connects her to something she's actively hiding from you. Notice how she guards it during sleep too. Used to charge on your side of the bed? Now it's always within her reach. Used to share charging cables? Now she has her own setup that doesn't require asking you for anything. The sudden need for digital independence reveals the existence of digital secrets. Watch the charging patterns, the notification behaviors, the way she interacts with it when she thinks you're not looking. An innocent woman doesn't guard her phone like it contains evidence of crimes. The transformation from openness to secrecy happens for a reason. But what happens when the cover story starts rewriting you entirely? But here's what most men never realize. The next phase is when she makes you question your own mind. The most dangerous phase begins when she systematically makes you question your own perception. This is gaslighting wrapped in concern for your mental health, and it's devastatingly effective. She'll reframe your accurate observations as male insecurity, your gut instincts as trust issues, your pattern recognition as paranoia. She knows you're seeing the truth, so she works overtime to convince you that your eyes and ears are lying. When you mention the emotional distance, she tells you you're imagining things. "I've been the same as always," she'll say with genuine-sounding confusion. Point out the phone behavior, and suddenly you're the one with serious problems. "You're becoming obsessed with my phone. That's not healthy." The narrative becomes entirely about your inadequacy as a partner, not her behavior as a potentially cheating woman. This psychological manipulation serves two critical purposes. It protects her secret and makes you doubt yourself enough to stop investigating. She'll use your love against you like a weapon. "If you really trusted me, you wouldn't ask these questions." A secure man wouldn't need this much reassurance. "You're starting to sound like my controlling ex." Every concern you raise gets transformed into evidence of your personal failings. Your need for transparency becomes possessiveness. Your observation skills become paranoia. Your emotional intelligence becomes insecurity. She'll recruit outside validation to support her narrative. "My friends think you're being controlling lately." "My mother says all men get paranoid when they hit middle age." "My therapist thinks you might have abandonment issues." Notice how she suddenly has a whole team of people analyzing your mental state while refusing to acknowledge her behavioral changes. The goal is to isolate your perspective until you're the only one who sees what's really happening. She'll make you feel crazy for noticing things that are actually happening. She'll make you feel guilty for having natural reactions to unnatural behavior. The most insidious part is how she'll mix just enough truth into the lies to keep you confused. Maybe you have been asking more questions lately, because there's more to question. Maybe you are feeling insecure, because the foundation of your relationship is shifting without explanation. She'll take these natural responses to her deception and use them as proof that the problem is your perception, not her actions. Don't let her rewrite reality. Trust your observations over her explanations. When someone tries to convince you that your accurate perceptions are wrong, they're usually protecting something that wouldn't survive honest scrutiny. Watch next how guilt transforms into suspicious generosity. Suddenly, she's the perfect girlfriend again. Cooking elaborate meals you didn't request. Buying thoughtful gifts for no apparent reason. Initiating physical closeness with suspicious enthusiasm. After weeks or months of distance, she transforms overnight into the devoted partner you remember from early in your relationship. This overcompensation phase confuses men who mistake guilt for renewed love. She's not falling for you again. She's managing her conscience. The guilt of betrayal creates a psychological debt she tries to pay with artificial kindness. Her subconscious mind knows she's doing something terrible, so it compensates by making her do something wonderful. Notice how calculated it feels when you really pay attention. The gestures are big, but somehow impersonal. Expensive, but not truly intimate. She'll buy you that watch you mentioned months ago, but can't remember why you wanted it. She'll cook your favorite meal, but seem distracted while you eat it together. She'll suggest date nights, but spend them looking at her phone. The timing reveals everything about this sudden perfection. This phase usually follows periods of obvious distance or suspicious behavior. It's a psychological reset button designed to buy her time and throw you off the trail of what you were starting to notice. She becomes more attentive in public, more affectionate around friends, more willing to compromise on things that used to cause arguments, but it feels hollow, like she's reading from a manual about how loving girlfriends are supposed to behave. The effort is visible, which means it's not natural. Watch for the performance quality of her renewed attention. Real intimacy flows effortlessly. Guilt-driven affection requires conscious effort. She'll remember to kiss you goodbye, but forget to mean it. She'll plan romantic evenings, but feel emotionally absent during them. She'll say all the right words, but they'll sound like lines from a script she's memorizing. The physical closeness increases, but the emotional connection somehow decreases. She's present in body, but her mind is clearly somewhere else, or with someone else. This isn't authentic reconnection. It's damage control. Real love doesn't require performance notes or sudden scheduling. Authentic affection flows naturally over time, with small, consistent gestures that come from genuine feeling. Guilt-driven generosity arrives in concentrated bursts designed to erase evidence of its opposite. When someone suddenly becomes too good to be true, they're usually trying to balance out being something terrible in secret. Measure consistency, not intensity. But when that act becomes too exhausting to maintain, another actor enters the stage. Her social circle transforms from a source of companionship into a strategic resource. Friends become alibis, and every social gathering becomes potential cover for something else entirely. She'll mention the same names repeatedly, creating a reliable cast of characters to support her alternate timeline. Girls' night becomes her most valuable excuse. Always vague enough to avoid verification, but specific enough to sound legitimate. Pay close attention to how she talks about these social events. Honest plans include natural details that flow out in conversation. Where they're going, what they're doing, who's driving, what time she expects to be home. Alibis stay deliberately fuzzy, just hanging out, or catching up, or you know how it is with the girls. When you ask innocent follow-up questions, she either can't provide details or gives information that feels rehearsed. She'll reference group chats that supposedly back up her stories, creating a collective narrative that's much harder to question than individual claims. "Check the group chat if you don't believe me," becomes her defense, knowing you can't actually check anything. Watch the pattern of communication around these supposed events. Does she text you during girls' nights like she used to? Are there photos posted that match her timeline? Do the stories from different people align when you hear them secondhand? Notice if the same friend's name appears in multiple unrelated stories across different contexts. An accomplice friend becomes overused in the deception because she's the most reliable cover. She might mention casual dinners, shopping trips, workout sessions, and emergency situations, all revolving around one person who's conveniently supportive of her need for space and independence in your relationship. The sophisticated cheater builds an entire social infrastructure to support her lies. Group activities provide cover for individual meetings. Friend emergencies justify sudden schedule changes. Social events become alibis with built-in witnesses who may not even realize they're providing cover. She'll cultivate friendships with women who encourage secretive behavior, who think all men are controlling, who believe women deserve unlimited freedom without explanation. These friends become unwitting accomplices, supporting her right to privacy without knowing what she's hiding. Watch how she talks about you to these friends. If she's consistently painting you as the controlling, suspicious, or insecure partner, she's creating a narrative that justifies her secretive behavior. The friend group becomes an echo chamber that reinforces her right to lie. Truth needs no witnesses because it stands on its own. Lies require a supporting cast, careful coordination, and constant maintenance. When her social circle becomes more important than her relationship, it's because that circle is protecting something the relationship wouldn't survive. And when her circle closes ranks, her world splits completely in two. And what happens next will change how you see everything about her daily choices. She starts optimizing herself for an audience you're not part of. New gym memberships appear without discussion. Sudden interest in fitness emerges from nowhere. Wardrobe updates happen that seem completely disconnected from your life together. She's preparing for someone else's attention, someone else's approval, someone else's hands. The changes feel deliberate but unexplained, purposeful but secretive. She'll join workout classes she never mentioned wanting, sign up for activities that don't include you, develop interests that keep her away from home for hours at a time, buy clothes in styles she previously dismissed as too young or not practical. Experiment with makeup techniques she learned from videos you never see her watching. Notice the timing and target of these improvements. Is she suddenly dressing up for work more than she ever did before? Putting extra effort into her appearance for events you're not attending? The most telling sign is selective enhancement. Looking absolutely amazing for certain occasions while staying deliberately casual for time with you. She might change her perfume without mentioning it, choosing scents that are more sensual, more memorable, more designed to linger on skin and clothing. Update her hairstyle without asking your opinion or even telling you she was considering a change. Suddenly, care about body areas she previously ignored. Getting professional manicures when she used to bite her nails. Paying for expensive skin care when she used to use drugstore basics. Investing in undergarments that you never see. Watch for small symbolic purges that signal bigger changes. Deleting old photos from social media that include you. Replacing sentimental items that remind her of your history together. Creating physical and digital distance from shared memories. She's editing you out of her identity to make room for someone new. The bedroom becomes a battlefield of competing aesthetics. Out go the comfortable pajamas. In come silk pieces you've never seen. Away go the practical cotton undergarments, replaced by lace and intention. She starts caring about how she looks when she wakes up, how she smells when she comes home, how she presents herself in spaces you used to share without performance. This isn't self-improvement for your relationship. It's preparation for a different one. A woman who's truly invested in her current partner includes that partner in her vision of self-improvement. She asks your opinion on haircuts. She shows you the new clothes. She explains the sudden interest in fitness as something you could do together. A woman reinventing herself without including her partner in the process is preparing for a life that doesn't include that partner. Change observed without accusation clarifies reality faster than confrontation ever could. Yet even the most careful performance leaks truth, especially through guilt. But here's the part that almost every man gets wrong. Guilt has its own language, and it speaks in unnecessary words. The final sign manifests as verbal overflow that reveals everything she's trying to hide. When someone has nothing to conceal, explanations are brief and natural. When they're managing a secret, every simple story becomes an elaborate novel filled with irrelevant details and defensive justifications. She'll text you paragraphs explaining delays that don't require explanation. Traffic was absolutely horrible because of construction I didn't know about. Then my phone battery almost died, but I found a charger at that gas station near the mall, and the line was incredibly long because they only had one person working the register, and then I couldn't find my keys because I put them in the wrong pocket of my purse. You didn't ask for a minute-by-minute account of her delay, but her guilty conscience provided one anyway. Watch for micro-apologies that address accusations you never made. Sorry I didn't text back right away. I was in the bathroom and left my phone charging in the kitchen, and you know how I lose track of time when I'm getting ready. You hadn't noticed she didn't text back. You weren't waiting for a response. But she's apologizing for behavior that only matters if she's supposed to be available for someone else. She'll provide detailed alibis for time periods you weren't even monitoring. Answer questions you didn't ask. Justify behavior you hadn't questioned. Explain situations that don't require explanation. This cognitive leakage happens because her mind is managing two completely different versions of reality: the truth and the story she needs you to believe. Sometimes the wires cross, and she explains things that only matter if she's lying. Listen for the nervous laughter that accompanies these over-detailed explanations, the extra words that transform simple facts into complex narratives, the defensiveness buried in seemingly helpful communication. She'll tell you exactly where she parked, which entrance she used, who she saw in the lobby, what she ordered for lunch. Details that have no relevance to anything except proving she was where she claims to have been. Pay attention to the timing of these information dumps. They often come when she's returning from somewhere, as if she's been mentally rehearsing the story during her drive home. Or they arrive via text before you've even asked about her day, like she's getting ahead of questions you might think to ask. The sophisticated liar front-loads information to avoid interrogation. But the overload of irrelevant details creates suspicion instead of preventing it. Notice how she responds when you don't react strongly to these elaborate explanations. Relief. Because she's been carrying the weight of a story she was afraid you'd question. When someone starts explaining things no one asked about, they're usually confessing to things no one accused them of. The guilt creates an internal pressure that leaks out through unnecessary words. By the time she's writing essays about routine activities, the story has already ended. She just hasn't admitted it yet. If these signs sound familiar, ask yourself this: are you studying her patterns or explaining them away? Are you trusting your observations or letting her rewrite your reality? Because truth doesn't hide behind elaborate explanations and defensive reactions. Truth doesn't require alibis and performance schedules. Truth doesn't need to guard phones like state secrets or transform simple questions into personal attacks. People hide, people perform, people lie, but truth just is, and deep down, you already know what it is.